Hello everyone, it's Orion here, and today we're going to be doing another movie review for a film that just came out. It's Jurassic World Dominion, and so, oh boy, where do I start with this movie? Because I kind of just want to jump right into it. You kind of read the thumbnail right. I don't know what this movie is. I'm not going to lie. And look, I'm going to be straight up honest with everybody here, just so we can get it out of the way. I did not like this movie. I thought it was massively and painfully disappointing. And so I just want to get it right off the bat as well that I don't think this movie is as bad as some of the critics are saying it is. I do think the movie is disappointing. However, I don't think it is necessarily a terrible movie like so many of the critics are saying it's the worst of the franchise and that it's even worse than a movie like Fallen Kingdom, which of course is the predecessor to Dominion. And look, I would personally, if it was me, even though I'm probably not going to watch this movie again in theaters, I would rather watch this movie over Fallen Kingdom. I did not like Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom at all. I thought that movie got so ridiculous to the point that by the time we got to the end of that movie, it really just felt like they didn't know what they were doing. And I kind of feel the same here with Jurassic World Dominion. So let's kind of jump into it. And I'm going to talk about the things that I did like because there's not that many, but there are some. There are some things that I did like. And one of those things that I want to start off with is the actors, and I want to make this abundantly clear. The actors are all good in here, in this movie. Every single actor, from the main cast to even some of the side casts, are all good in this movie. They all play their roles very well, from Sam Neill to Laura Dern to Jeff Goldblum, Bryce Dallas Howard, Chris Pratt, a newcomer in DeWanda Weiss, Isabella Sermon, who plays the little girl in the movie. They all are really good in the movie. They are acting very well. So that is one of my first positives with the movie, is that everything there from the acting side is really good. I can't say anything bad about any actor in this movie. They all play their roles very well. So moving on from that, what else did I like? CGI, the effects, yeah, they're good. They're definitely good, but that's not going to really do much for you, especially, and I will say this, they did mix in a lot of practical effects as well. Like, there are shots in this movie where you can clearly tell when the dinosaurs are practical, like machines, like how they did it in the old movies. Like, in the old movies, they don't really utilize CG a lot, especially in the first Jurassic Park, other than the T-Rex a lot of the time. But they do use a lot of practical effects here in this movie, and I do appreciate them for doing that. And so, from the practical effects to the CGI, those two things were also very well done. I think this is definitely the best looking Jurassic World movie that we have had out of all the three so far. So I'll give them props for that as well. And they definitely needed to nail that. I mean, that is very key for them to nail, especially with the dinosaurs that are basically the main key part of all these movies. Talking about other things that I like. So let's kind of also talk about Colin Trevorrow as the director who did this movie. And I think his directing here was actually, I think it was good at moments and in certain parts in time during the film. It wasn't great the whole time, I'm not gonna lie. I think during some of the action scenes, I could definitely tell his directing was slipping up a little bit, especially with how he shot the movie. I mean, look, I'm not really a huge fan of shaky cam, and there's a good amount of shaky cam in here. And there's also some scenes where the lighting is so dark to the point where I was just like, what is even going on? Like, I couldn't see anything. I just could not tell what was going on. And so it's like, okay, all right, I'm just going to let this go by. But other than that, I think his directing is fine here in this movie. But other than that, I'm really trying to think of something else that I like. I will say this, the first 20 or so minutes, 20 to 30 minutes, I thought it was actually really good. I think this movie has a really good start. Like, I'm being genuinely honest. I think this movie has a solid start. A solid good 20 to 25, 30 minutes of this movie in the beginning actually starts off very well. And I thought it was actually going to go somewhere very promising. And now we're going to get into the cons. Yeah, there's a lot of them. First of all, the script. First and foremost, the number one problem with this movie is the damn script. Holy God, this story is brutal. I could not believe what my eyes were watching, what I was listening to. This script is all over the place. And I mean, look, the writers of this movie are Colin Trevorrow. Colin Trevorrow, of course, he directed it and he wrote the film. And then you also have this girl named Emily Carmichael. So two writers are credited on this movie, Emily and Colin Trevorrow. Emily wrote, as far as her IMDb, it says that she is the writer of Jurassic World Dominion, the Battle at Big Rock short that they actually did for this movie before it even came out, and she also wrote Pacific Rim Uprising. Now, looking down the rest of her IMDb, she also did nothing else. Yep, that's pretty much all that she's done as far as a writing credit goes. Yeah, that's not that great. But then you got Colin Trevorrow, and it's like, Trevorrow, of course, we know he wrote the first Jurassic World, and he directed it. And then we also know he wrote Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, along with the Battle at Big Rock short as well, along with Emily. And then he is one of the credited writers for Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, and now here he is with Jurassic World Dominion. So, yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Look, no offense to these people. Look, Colin, Emily, I'm sure you guys are really nice people, and this is not meant to bash anybody in any way, but the writing here is really poor. It's so bad. It's not good at all. I'm still, even after getting out of the theater, I'm still trying to figure out what the story of this movie was. Like, what was the overall arching goal of the story of this movie to really give people an understanding as to how this franchise would end? Because, guys, this is the end of the saga. This is the end of the saga of the first two trilogies of the Jurassic films, like Jurassic Park, the original trilogy of Jurassic Park films, and then, of course, this new sequel trilogy in the Jurassic World movies. Like, what was the idea behind ending this whole thing off? Like, I'm still so confused, man. Like, what were they trying to go for? It just feels like this movie. If I wanted to give a better description to give for this movie, it feels like this movie was just made to be made. And as also as part of the title of this video says, it's just all spectacle and no story. Like, a lot of this movie is just really shoving popcorn in your face and just taking in all the cheesiness that it is. Because this movie, look, let's not make a mistake here. This movie is cheesy as hell. Like, super cheesy. From the action to even the dialogue. And oh my god, the dialogue. Oh boy, look. I love that they brought back the original OG cast, and I love how they put all three of them together. Putting all three of them together, that's another pro I will give to this movie. They put the original three in, from the original trilogy movies, they put them all three together. I love that. Now, granted, I will say, they don't meet fully up. Like, the original cast doesn't fully meet up until the middle of the movie, but they do meet up, and I will give this movie some credit for that. But oh my god, some of their dialogue is not good. And look, Laura Dern, Sam Neill, and Jeff Goldblum are really good actors, but the dialogue they are given is so painfully brutal, and it's just like, what are you guys saying? Like, I'm not even kidding you. Sentences from so many of the characters in this movie, I swear, if I had a count for every time a sentence finished with "what?" ? I think I'd be a millionaire. Like, I don't get it. The dialogue in this movie is just not good at all. I did not like the dialogue. It felt so cheesy. It felt so, like, out of left field. Like, a lot of the dialogue it doesn't feel like it fits in with any of the stuff that characters are saying to one another. Everybody, a lot of the time, is just confused as to what's going on. And that kind of seeps in to me as an audience member. I was just so confused as to what was going on this entire movie. So, like, that's the main big problem. The second big problem with this movie is that it's way too damn long. Why is this movie 2.5 hours long? Really? Why is this movie the only reason that this movie should have been 2.5 hours long is if the previous two movies gave it a reason to be 2.5 hours long. Because the story here, and again, the story does not line up with the runtime. It is so overbloated with so much stuff that I just could not understand why it needed to even be in the movie. And this kind of segues into the third part. The villains. Oh my dear god, the villains are... Oh my god, these are I'm not even kidding you, these are some of the worst villains I think I've ever seen in a movie. Like, as far as a big budget, big IP movie, these are some of the worst villains I've ever seen. And no, they're not dinosaurs. The villains of a Jurassic Park / Jurassic World movie are not the dinosaurs. They're goddamn human beings. There is a human being who is the main villain in this movie, and I swear I wanted to punch a hole in my chair after watching this guy speak on screen because it was so laughably bad. His dialogue, his story, the reason he's even there, it is all so laughably dumb and stupid. I I'm seriously trying to figure out why this character was even written into the movie. It makes no sense. How in a movie about dinosaurs are your villains not the literal thing that the movie is about? How is that even a thing? And look, there's a plot line revolving around not a dinosaur, not a human being, but it's a creature. And obviously I'm not going to spoil the movie, but there is a plot line revolving around a creature in this movie that's just like, okay, I thought they would do more with that, but then also, why is that one of the main things driving the plot of this movie for what could happen at the end? It's like, I just don't know. And also, by the way, another big con, I'm pretty sure if I counted it correctly, I think only 3 people die in this movie. A movie about dinosaurs roaming the earth, roaming the literal streets of all these different people on the planet. 3 people, I think, die in this movie. And I'm just sitting here like, are you kidding me? 3 people die? And I think maybe 2 of them were off screen. Yeah, I'm not even kidding you. 2 of the 3 people who die in this movie are off screen. You don't even see it. I just, oh my God, man, this movie is it's so messy. It is so convoluted. It's so messy. It doesn't know what it wants to be. And I don't even think it knew how it wanted to end. Like, when I came out of this movie, as soon as the credits stopped rolling, I was just like, that's it? That's all we got? That's how you end off this trilogy. It's like, look, I had my theories as to how they were going to go with this movie, and I was seriously hoping one of them was correct. You guys have no idea. You really have no idea. Like, I swear, I feel like only maybe 2% of people who predicted this movie got it right. And then the other 98% got it so wrong, because it goes in a direction that I don't think a lot of people are ready for. And listen, I'm not going to sit here and say that you shouldn't watch this movie and shouldn't go see it. By all means, it's your money. It's your right to go and watch this movie if you want to or if you don't want to. I would recommend you go watch it and just give your opinion. I mean, look, I spent $20 for a ticket on this movie. I certainly would not spend another $20 on a ticket. I'm certainly not going to see this movie again in theaters. Absolutely not. I'd watch it again when it comes out on demand or Blu-ray or whatever, however I tend to watch. On streaming. There you go, on streaming. I'd watch this movie when it comes out on streaming, but I am not seeing this again in theaters. It's in my personal opinion, it's not a movie that I think deserves a second rewatch. And honestly, as confused as I was coming out of it, I don't even want to know. Like, look, I'll figure out the story in like watching reviews of it online, but like, I can't fathom watching this movie again to understand why they did what they did. But oh man, it just feels like, and the last thing I'll say with this review is that now that I really think about it, this trilogy, in all honesty, feels so much like the sequel trilogy for Star Wars, in the sense that it had a great start with the first movie, because I actually like Jurassic World, the first movie. I actually really like that movie. Like, I think it was a really good way of starting out a new trilogy of films. And then you get into the second movie, and I was kind of checked out. I was like, wait, what? That's where you're going with this? Really? And then when we get to the third movie, it's just like, okay, now we've kind of pinned ourselves in a corner. So like, we got to write ourselves out of it. And it's like, okay, like, you're ending it that way, of all ways to end it. It's like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know what to say. This movie is just, it's a mess. It is such a mess. And like, there's not even really a lot of character development. Like, honestly, the most amount of character development I feel like that's in this movie for any of our characters at all is mainly with our OG cast. And even then, it's just like, well, we've already gotten 3 movies with those characters. Well, technically, we got 1 movie with those characters. We got the original movie with all 3 of them. Then the second one was just with Jeff Goldblum. And then the third one was with Sam Neill's Alan Grant. Of course, and Laura Dern did come back for the third one, but she's in it for like less than 5 minutes. So it's like, okay, I kind of appreciate that you're developing those characters a little bit more, but at the same time, our main cast, they get nothing. They really get nothing. The little girl gets something, but it's like, at that point, I'm like, I don't really care. I don't really care. Like, I don't know, man. This was again, this is not a bad movie. I don't feel like this is a bad movie, but it's just such a massively disappointing one at that. So, for anybody who has seen the movie or is going to see it, or I guess in this case, if you have seen the movie, drop a comment down below what you thought about it, and if you think that it was a good way to end off the trilogy, if it was not a good way to end off the trilogy. I honestly don't know. I got to see it early. Obviously, I saw this past Thursday night, so yeah, I don't know. And again, for anybody who comes to see this review in the future, again, drop your comments down below. If when you see the movie eventually in time, let me know what you thought. And so yeah, that's gonna do it for this review, guys. Again, oh man, what a way to come and finish this trilogy. It's just, I'm just so saddened. I'm so saddened by this. This is rough. I'll see you guys all in the next video. Like, comment, subscribe, and you guys have a good rest of your day. Peace.